I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what about Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
you do you. I'm going to do me. And then they put up a picture behind me of my parents.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jasper Gonzo here. Another episode of What's Next, weekend edition. This is video number 2. After having a good laugh in regards to Chappelle being the savage that he is regarding his latest Netflix special and the controversy, so-called controversy regarding it. We're going to stay in the land of wokeness, and unfortunately, more victims of this cancerous problem. ESPN woke. That is how it's known by. It's no longer about sports. It's about my politics. It's about my representation. It's about the alphabet community. It's about giving respect to my trans. You name it, that's what it is. It's no longer about sports. But when someone makes a common sense reference, an opinion, oh, you're going to pay. And sadly, another one has paid. This time it's Sage Steele, and let's go to the article. This comes out of PJ Media. Sage Steele suspended from ESPN for, quote, controversial comments regarding mandates, Obama, female reporters. ESPN anchor Sage Steele has been put on leave following an awe-inspiring podcast rant in which she called employers' vaccine mandates sick and questioned former Barack Obama's blackness. Yes. Steele also said that female reporters, quote, know what they are doing when they dress provocatively. And if that's actually controversial, then I've never enjoyed a Bloody Mary during morning working hours. She made her remarks on former Chicago Bears quarterback Jay Cutler's podcast last week. Sadly, he has since backed down from them. A network source quoted in the Daily Mail, that Steele had been removed to recover from the Wuhan after taking the mandated vaccination shot over her own objections. Quote, let's get to the juicy stuff before we get to the real juicy stuff. On last week's episode of UNCUT with Jay Cutler, Steele let loose. Trigger warning, this is the same Steele who in 2017 risked being branded a conservative for saying of her new ESPN AM anchor duties, you can't worry about offending someone because there will always be someone who gets offended. Oh, how true. How very, very true. Asked last week about ESPN's vaccine mandate, Steele said, I respect everyone's decision, I really do, but to mandate is sick and scary to me in many ways, but I have a job that I love, and frankly, a job that I need, quote, end quote. Race can be touchy, if that's the right word. I don't mean to be pejorative, subject for Steele, who has been attacked for identifying as biracial. Quote, she claimed that a unnamed show host told her that she had to choose either white or black when filing out a federal census data. Steele said the host then cited Obama's identified as black on a census. Quote, I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing, Steele said. Quote, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you, I'm going to do me. And having skin in this particular game, as it were, Steele should feel free to speak her mind on the issue. Perhaps more controversially, Steele called out her female colleagues for dressing too sexily. It isn't just the players players and athletes and coaches who act in a certain way. I mean, I've had talks with young women who just other women reach out to me now. I've said to a couple of them, they're like, well, would you look at my tape? Would you do this? And I said, listen, I would love to, but the way that you present yourself is not something that I want to be associated with. A bare amount of modesty is apparently too provocative for ESPN woke. The network didn't just take Steele off the air for a week to recover from the cough. They also booted her from the female-focused ESPN W Women Plus Sports Summit that takes place a week after her mandated recovery time has ended. ESPN also released a statement saying, in part, quote, "At ESPN, we embrace different points of view." Not really. The dialogue and discussion makes this a great place. Not really. That said, we expect that those points of view be expressed respectfully in a manner consistent with our values and in line with our internal policies. Leftist policies. In other words, everything before that said was meaningless and boilerplate, which is, I would say, bullshit. Steele got the message too. ESPN released a statement from Steele in which he wrote, "I know my recent comments created controversy for the company, and I apologize. We're in the midst of an extremely challenging time that impacts all of us, and it's more critical than ever that we communicate constructively and thoughtfully." I thought she had communicated constructively and thoughtfully, even though I'm apparently a much bigger fan of provocatively dressed female reporters than she is. What a shame. Women could use a lot more Steele's strong example from 2017. Now I jump to this. This comes out of Outkick. Sage Steele won't listen. The media doesn't scare her. This was updated. If you randomly survey 30 Americans about Sage Steele's comments on ESPN's vaccine mandate is, quote, sick, you have a variety of reactions. One group will say Steele is right. Another will call her anti-vax. A MAGA hat-wearing bigot. One ESPN should fire immediately. Then there is a group of people who won't care. They probably agree with some of Steele's views, but not all of them. That's how this works. Steele delved into controversial topics that should draw different responses from various groups throughout the country without judgment. That said, everyday Americans were not Steele's judges. Her peers in the media were. The sports media bubble tweets out terms like, quote, inclusion to show that they are on the right team. The team that gives members great benefits and protection at least until their time is up. Just ask Rachel Nichols. Yet they don't practice their inclusion themselves. They only promote it for other groups and organizations. The sports media bubble is an exclusive group. Nearly every member votes one way, has one viewpoint, has no interest in hearing the other side. So when anyone shares a job title with them that dares to disagree with them publicly, members of the bubble call him or her searchable keywords like Candace Owens wannabes. They came after Steele, and though on command, Keith Oberdouche, as I like to call him, the author of Trump is Effing Crazy, That Sold Nothing, who once said that sports and politics should not be mixed. Those are his quotes. Called for ESPN to fire her. Former ESPN anchors who often share their political views on the air, off and on the air, such as Jemele Hill, who got fired from ESPN because of her politics, and rightly so. Carrie Champion, Michelle Beadle, also attacked Steele by liking certain tweets. Even some of Steele's current colleagues, like Sarah Spain and the idiot Mark Jones, expressed their disapproval of her. The list of disapproving industries' voices from all different networks goes on and on. Unlike the rest of the country, there was no discussion, debate, nuance among sports media's hall monitors. Somehow they all drew the same conclusion. Sage Steele was wrong and ESPN should fire her. This group was not happy to learn that Steele is off the air only temporarily. Steele did not advise anyone not to get the shot. Instead, she said a company should not force its employees to do so, a perspective that splits the U.S. on party lines. And there lies the problem. Hill, Oberman, Jones, struggling online newspaper writers represent the one-sided discussion, while those who agree with Steele are afraid to express their support due to cancellation. Sage Steele represents many Americans as Jemele Hill does, but Twitter users cheer Hill and demonize Steele. Once Sage Steele appears in a Twitter trends section, blue check marks and their followers know what to do. It was time to attack viciously. My thoughts. In the first article, the first part of this, once I got done reading through it, interesting that she kind of sort of backpedaled. Instead of taking her own advice from 2017, which means that someone is always going to get offended, which is true. Someone always going to get offended. And in 2021, the left is always getting offended. The right doesn't get offended. The libertarians don't get offended. They have a sense of humor. Like I was talking about in the last video regarding Chappelle. The right can laugh at themselves Libertarians can laugh at themselves. Leftists can't. Everything is a trigger word for them. Everything is a microaggression for them. Everything is a problem, because if it doesn't have malrepresentation, it doesn't have virtue signaling, box checking, if you don't have the blue check marks approval, then you're going to be attacked, as say Steele was. She made very accurate comments regarding Barack Obama, how Barack Obama embraced his blackness and not his whiteness, being though he is biracial. Sage Steele has embraced her biracial. She has no problem with it. And of course, I totally agree regarding the vax mandates. The fact of the matter is that no private employer should slam their employees over the head with this and saying, either you take this, show us your papers, or you're fired. And I think that's absolute bullshit. And that's why you got lawyers just waiting, salivating for the lawsuits, because they will come. Class action lawsuits will come if employers, major employers try to do this. Some have, a few have. Fox News is one, ESPN is one. I think Sony is one. But the vast majority of businesses, especially small private-owned businesses, have not. And rightly so, because small businesses is what this country runs off of. They don't run off of Sony. They don't run off of ESPN. They don't run off of GE. They don't run off of McDonald's. They don't run off of Nike. They don't run off these companies. They run off of small mom and pop businesses, which sadly are dying because of the coup, or what keeping this country running. And when you have those like in the dementia administration who want to constantly shoot their mouths off all the time of, well, we're doing this for the safety of the people. Really? Are you really doing it for the safety of the people? Or are you doing it for your own political and monetary gains? Well, we all know the answer to that, don't we? But in regards to Sage Steele, I would have not taken a step back. I would have held my guns. You already got suspended. What else can they do? Fire you? That's all they can do. That's all they can do. You making comments and firing you on comments not based off of your performance. You have a lawsuit there. But we're going to see where this goes. So with that being said, I'm Jasper Gonzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more just like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it, hit the notification bell so you never miss a thing. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.